Hey Super, welcome back. It's Claytano, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to rune Laika, the Fire Dragonite. Now, for those of you that are actually new to the channel, I am giving this advice from a G3 standpoint and how I see most fitting for this specific monster, and I go through each one every single day. I post a new monster. So tomorrow will be the Fire Monkey, Veladril, so on and so forth, one every single day. So I will definitely eventually get to the water, eventually get to the wind, light, dark, etc. But for today, we're going to be going over the pros, the cons, the runes, the substat priorities, the team combinations, the alternatives, and the overall rating for Leica. So just to get into it here, we are going to start off as the pros. So for pros, we have, first off, he's got really high base HP for an attack monster. Look, he's got 11,040 HP for an attack monster. That's crazy. Like no other attack monster. I mean, I don't want to say no other attack monster because you guys are going to prove me wrong somehow, but I'd say he's got really good HP for an attack monster. His second pro for Leica would be that he hits like a truck. Get it? Anyway, no, he really does. He hits super hard with his second skill, even with his first skill, massive damage. So you can't really beat up that, or you can't really beat that. He's a really good assassin for the most part. Third pro, he has a passive that gives non-glancing. It's this third skill right here. He does not glance. He will not glance, even against water monsters, etc. He won't glance. So it's pretty nice. You can kind of rely on some of his damage, even against off. Maybe not as much as like Theomar's. You can rely on his damage, but for Leica, you can at least know that he won't glance, and Molly is a non-issue. But for some of his cons, he awakens into resistance, which is a little bit weird. It doesn't really fit his kit too much. Obviously, resistance is never a bad thing, but it just doesn't help his cause as much as some other type of awakening would, in my opinion. And a second con for Leica would be that he has a kind of a lackluster passive. Even though it does non-glancing, that part's very nice. But just with having that, I think it would be a little bit weird. And then the second part to it, though, additionally, when you're being attacked, you have a 30% chance to stun the attacker for one turn. So not only do you have a 30% chance to stun, so that's not a whole lot of chance, but then you also have to go through a resistance accuracy check to actually see if you stun. It's not just 100% stun. So it's, I don't know, there's a really good chance that you're not going to stun them, even if you do proc your stun, because most people aren't going to build Leica with accuracy substats because he's a nuker. He's not going to have really much left to give to accuracy. Unless you really sacrifice a lot of your other stats that you need in order to make Leica hit like a truck. So yeah, anyway. And then the third con, I would say that he's really, he only excels in Guild Wars. Now that's not a majorly bad thing, but it's just, really, I don't see him being used much else. I guess he can farm some dungeons like for experience, but there's more efficient farmers out there. So really, I would just say if he's a Guild War monster, man, just build him for Guild Wars. Just think of him as a Guild War monster and rune him as such. So how I would rune him early game would be, really the main set, it doesn't matter too much. If you can't put Violent or Rage on Leica, then I would say just don't even worry about building a full set. Like it's not going to matter too much. So maybe even build Triple Blade, build something like that. Build him with some energy runes even. That would give his high base HP a little bit of a boost as well. So there's nothing wrong with that. But the 2, 4, and 6 slot runes are what you're going to be really focusing on the most. So his 2 slot's going to be attack. His 4 slot's going to be either crit rate or crit damage. And then his 6 slot will be attack again. So attack, crit damage, attack. Now, if you can't get at least 85 to 90% crit rate with having crit damage slot 4, go with a crit rate rune in slot 4, because a single target unit like Leica needs to actually have a high crit rate, because if he doesn't crit, it's like I've said before, it sucks. It sucks when a single target monster doesn't crit. So you want that crit rate high. Okay, I don't need to go into much detail more about that. So late game though, like I said, you can go either violent or rage. I would say rage is definitely an option because he is an assassin. You want him to be able to just nuke down every single enemy that he comes across and not have to worry about it. So rage is an option. Now if you want something more, a little bit more utility where there's a possibility to proc, you want to play with you want to gamble a little bit, then of course go violent. I would say violent would probably outplay rage in the long run, especially since Guild Wars actually takes a little bit longer. Violent would be better for Guild Wars. Most Guild Wars take a few extra turns. Now for the offset, I would say Will is the main offset for any Guild War monster for the most part. Like that's it's really strong in Guild Wars. So Will, I would say if you can't do Will, then do Revenge or Blade in kind of that order sequentially. Now again, 2-slot attack, 4-slot crit damage, crit rate, 6-slot attack. Same rules apply to the 4-slot, whether it's crit damage or crit rate. Just depends on your substats. The substat priority though is pretty easy. Crit rate, like I said, make sure you get that 85 or 90%, and then focus on some speed stats because you don't have it in slot 2, and then you want HP stats, crit damage stats, then attack stats. He's already going to hit super hard anyway, so you need to have him with some HP substats so that way he doesn't die right away. Okay. Now, what team combos are good for him? Again, this is kind of with Guild Wars in mind. What's going to set Leica up the most? Well, I would say any support unit that allows Leica to assassinate one opponent at a time and to be able to survive long enough to do so. So I think pairing him with like a Chaesoon, a Theomars, something like that, so, maybe an Orion even, something that's going to give him attack boost and a defense break on a target so that way you can just nuke him down, finish it. Okay. Some alternatives for Leica though, I would say Perna, Rakan, Rakan, a little bit iffy. Fire Monkey, Trevor, the 4-star Neostone fighter, and Rocky, the Fire Hell Lady. I think all of those guys would be a good alternative for Leica. They're all fire monsters, and they're all basically filling the same role as Leica. Now, Leica's overall rating, in my opinion, he suffers because of his lack of versatility around like where you can actually use him. So I'm giving him a 3 out of 5. He's not the best. I think there's a lot of room for improvement for Leica, and I think Comtos should definitely take a look at this monster to see what they can do for a buff. Again, I'm not really sure what they can do for him. I don't really have any options, but maybe I don't really have any opinions, but maybe do something with this passive. Give him a little something more. Maybe like a attack bar decrease or something like that would be fun even. I don't know, because most every other, well, I don't want to say most every other, no, but like with Leo and Ragdoll, I know they play with attack bar, so maybe you can have Leica do something with attack bar. I think that would be a cool option for Leica. But other than that, guys, if you have Leica, definitely congratulations on it. If you know somebody that has Leica that's been wondering how to rune them, please share this video with them. And if this video helped you out, definitely like, subscribe, and comment below. Other than that, tomorrow we will be going over the Fire Monkey as promised, and he's of course, like I said, he's an alternate to Perna. I'm sorry, not he's an alternate to the Fire. He's an alternate to Leica. I'm just gonna leave it right there. So you guys, if you have this guy instead of Leica, you might want to check tomorrow out. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Stay soupy as always. Peace later. Love you. Bye-bye.